technology company of this past century. When you go home tonight, try this experiment. Take a moment to look around at all things electric. And I guarantee you, you will find at least one item in your home that you own that was made by General Electric. In 2011, GE ranked 6th of Fortune 500's largest firms. It ranked 14th as the most profitable. As an employee, as a former employee for over 5 years, I worked for GE Power Systems. And I'm going to share with you how I managed to get my foot in the door and setting myself up to be hired by one of America's most admired companies. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters and guests. Ever since I was 11 years old, I dreamed of becoming an electrical engineer. Upon graduating from high school and being accepted into college, it almost seemed as though I was predestined to make this my reality. However, before I could even begin my first day of college, my dad gets laid off from work. He worked construction, and getting layoffs in the construction field was no big deal. They happened all the time. But as 1 year turned to 2, and the 60% cut in our family's finances began to take its toll, life as I knew it had changed. Being away at college, I really didn't realize how much my life or my family's finances at home had changed until I called home one day to ask my mother for some money. When I did, she said I'll put it in the mail. When I went to the mailbox, I was anticipating maybe $200, maybe $300 to tide me over. But when I got the letter, I received a check for $50. Then reality hit. I understood then what Dad getting laid off really meant. During the beginning of my sophomore year, I stumbled across a group of students who were huddled in the hallway talking about internships. One of the students were excited because one of them said that you can make anywhere from $11 to $18 an hour, depending on which company you work for. Overhearing this, I got excited too, because I'm thinking I just spent the past summer making $5.25 an hour working over a hot grill. So at the time I didn't even know what an internship was, and so I was determined to find out, and I knew I wanted one in the worst way. Shortly after that, I was instructed to put my resume together and to take it to the career fair in September. And so I did that, and as I passed out my resume to everybody I could possibly pass it out to, I received my mailbox full of these basically rejection letters, what they were. And so after that didn't work, I went on to the career development office. The career development office is where companies come to, where students can go to sign up. And so basically I signed up for as many interviews as I possibly could. I was determined to get an internship, and I was willing to do whatever it took to get it. So basically, from all of the interviews that I had signed up, I would be interviewing basically at least one time every week, and sometimes 2 or 3 times per week. As the semester went on, there was a group of students that had decided that we were all going to get internships together. And as the semester went on, all the students had began to stop interviewing one by one. I kept telling myself that if you quit, that the very next one I would have gotten. By November, I was completely discouraged because I had a few appointments left before the Christmas break, and I still hadn't received anything other than rejection letters. As time went on, my professors found it increasingly disrespectful and disruptive for me to continually get up in the middle of class and to run off the interview. Also, my self-esteem was beginning to weaken by students who made jokes and little comments about how I should quit and how I should give up. Well, one day I did quit. It was in February. And I went on the interview that morning, and it was one of the worst interviews I had ever been on. And I decided to quit that day. And I felt so low for for spending so much time and energy. I went back to my dorm room and I threw my interviewing clothes on the floor. I had 2 more interviews scheduled later that day, but I didn't care, and I wasn't going. Instead, I hooked up with some friends and went to the caf for an early lunch. On my way there, I had to go past the career development office. When I go past the career development office, Ms. Stringer spots me in disbelief, yelling, "Where are your clothes? You had an interview at 11 p.m. You had an interview at 11 with GE. What are you doing? You're 15 minutes late." I told Ms. Stringer I wasn't going on the interview. And she said, "Oh no, you need to get on your clothes and I'm going to go stall." Once I got back to the career development office, Ms. Stringer introduced me to the recruiter and the interview began. The recruiter starts out by asking me 7 questions to all the answer the same way. "Do you know about Six Sigma?" I said no. "Do you know about GE's TLP program?" I said no. I can't believe I had to run all the way back to the dorm for this. I can't answer none of these questions. I felt lower than low. Then all of a sudden he said, "Well, what are you doing for lunch?" And that was something I had never heard before, because I was used to being turned down. Well, he said, "Well, over lunch, what I'll do is I'll tell you what it's like to work for GE. If you feel as though you're up for the challenge, then we can see about bringing you aboard." In closing, this can be summed up as follows. In closing, this can be summed up with the following quote from Norman Vincent Peale: "It's always too early to quit." How many of us have put in work and gone the extra mile only to fall short because we're not willing to go another inch? I quit that day, and the very words that I had spoken hundreds of times to motivate me along the way came true. GE didn't hire me because I was the most qualified. They didn't hire me because of my experience. They hired me because I showed up, because that day I overcame all obstacles that stood in my way, and because I was willing to give 1 more inch. Let's make it a habit to give 1 more inch.